What's going on, everybody? It's Dan here, back with another Moonshine talking. Hope everyone's having a good one. And I have a question for you. What do you get when you cross 60s, 70s psychedelic rock, 70s era proto metal, proto doom metal, 80s post punk, pre grunge, and a mix of 80s arena rock heavy metal? Well, you're going to get the answer here in a second in the latest metal review that I got for you. Oh, right. I'm not a professional broadcast. This is normally where somebody would have like a cool intro coming in or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. All joking aside. So I'm doing a review for a band I recently discovered. Uh, Backstory being is, at the start of the year, you do all your best ofs and did the metal tag thing, a couple other things, and I figured it's time to start getting to what I enjoy doing and sharing out some music that I've discovered or enjoy, new releases, stuff like that. So I was looking, went on Metal Archives, have a big old list of stuff that I'm gonna potentially review and pick up throughout the course of the next few months. And in the process of doing that, I listened to a couple things. One of the things that I was interested in that looked appealing, it just didn't. I didn't enjoy it. So I was looking around, looking, trying to find something, and I came across this band, and it was interesting, and I listened to it once, and then listened to it again, and then I was like, it was like okay, it started registering with me, so I went and picked it up. Got the got the CD, got a download from Bandcamp, and I figured I would share with everybody. So the band I'm talking about, I'm sure you can read. Everybody's got reading comprehension skills, but it's a band called Blood Cult. This is their latest release. We're gonna take your soul. It came out on Witches Brew Records. They're a label out of Germany. They currently have about 48 bands on their roster. They put out roughly 260, 270 releases overall since 2002. A lot of it thrash, doom, just straight up heavy metal, stuff like that. I wasn't familiar with them at all, but I discovered them while discovering the band. Uh, it, like I said, it was cool. It came out December 6th. This album. It was a follow up to their 2023 release, Tomb of the Unknown Redneck, which is a very funny title. Uh, this band has been around in some form or fashion since 1993. I think probably it was around 2003 where they started ramping up the releases beyond demos and splits and EPs and stuff like that. They finally put out their first full length, We Who Walk Among the Rows, and then they've put two or three out since then, and this is their latest one. Uh, they are considered a blackened punk band, or black and roll was another thing I saw on the Metal Archives site that describes them. Again, they've been around some form or fashion. Currently, as it stands, it's a one man project. It's all the vocals, instrumentation. It was all written, recorded, put out by a gentleman by the name of J.R. Preston. That's him right there. And it's cool. Like I said, it's a 9 song album. It's 33 minutes long. Uh, that kick ass artwork that you're looking at, that's done by someone named Zorno. I'll put a link here as far as you can go check out the person's work, but it's pretty cool. It's got a very McFarlane like aesthetic to it. Uh, Pretty cool, the skulls and the hot chick and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, musically, this thing it's interesting. It's a very unique. And when I use the term odd, I don't mean that as derisive or anything like that. It was just it's like a weird blend of all the things I mentioned. Like you get elements of Deep Purple, Uriah Heep. that sort of like 70s hard rock and psychedelic rock. You got the proto-doom styles, like if you're thinking like a Virgin Death, like pre-pentagram, that style of like, it was somewhere in between like that gray area of like straight up classic doom that everyone's familiar with, and more like the psychedelic stuff. And then you got elements of like a Judas Priest and Accept. There's falsettos and high pitched 80s style wails in there, and then there's a like almost like a like punk, but not like like I would say traditional, like the more commonly perceived punk, like like the Damned or the Sex Pistols, Misfits, stuff like that. It's more like X, if you're familiar with X, and then probably like bands like Mudhoney and stuff like that. There's songs on here that are similar to that. Uh, Lyrically, it's kind of all over the place again, but a lot of it's very dark themes. You got lots of like satanic panic style stuff, like on the song "We're Gonna Take Your Soul." That's pretty much that's pretty on the nose as far as that goes. No Escape from Rock is similar in the sense that it's like talking about the devil's music and how seductive it is and that sort of thing. And then you got songs about stalkers and school shooters and all sorts of stuff, all sorts of fun stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, I enjoyed it. I really I dug the hell out of it. I thought it was interesting enough to bring to people. As far as like is my favorite songs on here, I would say probably we're gonna take your soul is a good one. No Escape from Rock is probably the best one in my opinion of the entire album.
Lost deep in the dark tonight. Rock and roll, devil worship. Rock at night with the demon soul. Rock and roll, devil worship. Can't run away from rock and roll.
Plays with. I kind of think that this is probably the best one. It's the most because there's songs on here that are very tongue in cheek, almost to the point of parody, which I get into in a moment. Uh, where I was kind of wondering if like is this a joke band or is this serious? But then you kind of look and do a little bit of research into the background. Excuse me, and you see that he was in a black metal band and his name in the band was Alcoholonomicon. So I kind of get the feeling that he's got a good, very strong sense of humor, doesn't take the stuff too seriously, and just having fun with it, which is cool. It doesn't all have to be just like stone faced and angry and just all the time. You can have fun with it, and this is kind of what this is. It's almost like overall the overarching theme here. It's probably like party rock, party metal. There's a song on here. I'm trying to think which one it was. I think it was we're gonna take your soul, where in my mind's eye when I was hearing the opening riff to it, I could kind of like you kind of picture like some of this stuff could be in a movie like Black Roses or I'm trying to think of some others, even like Trick or Treat or some of those like 80s style where there was lots of heavy metal aesthetic going on in the movie. And you could picture like with the riffs, you could hear it playing on a tape deck in a van, and you got some skeezy looking dude with a pencil thin mustache. He's got a freaking denim jacket on. He's got like a case of Meister Chow in the back, and he's got some probably got some dirt weed in his pocket, you know, that sort of thing. And so I kind of I got that sense from it. That was kind of like in my again in my mind's eye. That's kind of where I went with it, and it's cool. I mean, it's a throwback to that style and that aesthetic. Again, I'll use that word again. Um, the opener, Demon Seed, that probably has the most deep purple Uriah Heep esque style to it. Uh, lots of lots of Ian Gillan type wails to start off, mixed in with the keyboard arrangements, very John Lordish, if you will.
You can't run away from me. You have been mystified. I have touched your soul. You have nowhere to hide. Everyone can see you now. I put you in the spell. There is nothing left for you. I put you into hell. Can't you see? There's no me.
Yeah, and then the one song where they almost lost me was Devil's Child, and that one was it's very much an homage to Balls to the Wall by Accept. It's again, I when I was listening to it the first time I heard it at this particular part,
The fires of hell, she'll seek another lover and leave you where you fell. Our soul can fly away as she changes her face. No one can stop her now. She's gone without a trace. She is the devil's child, the only one in the world. She is the devil's child. She is the devil's child, the only one in the world. She is the devil's child. There's a vampire in the graveyard looking for a victim to come in the cemetery for him so he can drink their blood. There's a goblin in the churchyard looking for a victim to.
I actually screamed very audibly, no. But then I listened to it again. I just kind of figured that okay, this is not meant to just be a just plagiarized total rip off thing. This is meant to be more of like a tribute of sorts. And I even thought of it like when you hear the very very straightforward like almost grating keyboards that are in that song. where it's just almost psycho like Hitchcock psycho like. It was almost kind of like if you remember the movie Vice Versa from the 80s, it was Judge Reinhold, Fred Savage. Uh, the mom from Malcolm in the Middle was in it. And it was one of those body swap movies that they did a ton of those in the 80s. And there was a scene where Judge Reinhold's character is at the mall and he's the kid in the dad's body. So he sees and hears some guy playing guitar in the mall at the music store. You remember those kids? And he goes in because he plays drums and he sits in with the guy and they start rocking out and they get a crowd going, all that sort of thing. And then the kid who's working in the shop, he decides to get in on the fun and he starts playing the keyboard and he's just hitting like this very basic chord on the keyboard on the synthesizer and he's feeling it, he's getting into it and that sort of thing. But it's just a very simplistic one. And but yeah, I mean, very cool movie. If you're not familiar with it, it's a comedy. So if you don't like comedies, you're probably not gonna like it. But it was cool. It had the band Malice in it, which is they're like a Seattle '80s heavy metal band. Uh, Crazy in the Night is one of the songs they play in there, and it's cool. I love that growing up, and that's kind of how I discovered that band. And I love that song. That's a phenomenal song in my opinion. But yeah, and then a couple of the other songs that are they're a little less metally. The ones where they're more like they almost sound like they could like they're very grunge or I want to say post punk, but that's probably like more of like a hipster description of trying to. But it's like that sort of punk. Like again, like I said, like a band like X, where it's not necessarily like it's not like the straight up Black Flag, Circle Jerks, hardcore punk, or like the exploited GBH, that sort of type of punk. It's like that, almost like that Los Angeles punk, if that's a way to describe it. But that, that sort of thing. I'm sure somebody know what how I'm, someone will get what I'm saying. But anyhow,
Late in the night, she turns to a wolf.
uh, yeah. So overall, I would recommend at the very least going and checking it out. Check out a couple of the tracks. I would start with No Escape from Rock. I would go with I would go with Demon Seed and We're Gonna Take Your Soul as far as like the probably the top three in my opinion. Those are probably the best songs on the album. But the whole album is pretty good. Even some of the stuff that I'm not mentioning is pretty solid. And again, it's interesting. It's an interesting album, and I don't mean that in a negative way or kind of like a condescending way. It's a very unique blend of genres and styles that you wouldn't think should go together, could go together, but somehow it works in a very fun manner. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So I'd recommend it and be interested to hear what anybody thought about it. Like I said, it was something, even though I'm reviewing it now, it was something that came out late last year, like a few weeks ago. But so it's technically a 2024 release, but I just found it and I thought it was cool. So I figured I'd bring it to the table and see what people thought. So anyhow, that's that. Blood Cult, We're Gonna Take Your Soul. Came out December 6th on Witches Brew. I got a copy eventually gonna come in the mail at some point. I've talked to the owner of the label. She's the one who was going back and forth with me, answered some questions that I could like. I was asking all the the members of the band, but I found that on my own. Told me who the artist was who did the cover. I asked where it was recorded. I imagine it was recorded in Chicago somewhere, but overall, very helpful, very cool person. Agreed with me with some of my analysis of the band as far as like originally I'd said it kind of was like a mix of like Pentagram and Accept. And the more I listened to it, then I could start hearing like the Deep Purple and the Uriah Heep, and on top of all the like the other more or less metal elements, but more like the punk influence stuff. But yeah, man, that's that. That's what I got. In closing, I hope you enjoy the video. And I got other stuff on the horizon that I plan on doing. And all the stuff that I'm sure you've seen already. If you haven't, uh, please go check out that show recap I did in Nile. I kind of enjoyed working on that one. That was a that was an arduous task because sometimes doing the editing thing, it's a little time consuming, and I mean it's not like I have much of a life outside of work, and but I don't really do much. So it's time consuming trying to do that stuff. And sometimes I make mistakes and I got to go back and and just screwing stuff up and doing things like that. I am not a professional here. This is just me doing half of this crap on a whim and hoping that people enjoy it, find it interesting enough to check out. But yeah, I had to edit it on the fly because I got a copyright thing off of one of the psychroptic songs that had on there originally. And even though they allowed the song, I just didn't want to deal with it. I figured that, it probably somehow, some way, Alphabet as a company probably somehow they push the stuff down to where it's less visible for people outside of people who have notifications on or who are followers of a channel. So I just figured I didn't even want to deal with it, even though they were allowing it. I just took that piece of it off of there. Maybe I'll make a short or something. Maybe it's uh, more acceptable when you do it in short form, but we'll see. But I'm gonna probably post some shorts of some of the video, the live footage I got from that show. By the way, if you haven't already, go check out. Speaking of that, Concrete Spew had an interview with Chris Barnes. It was very cool. He was like a kid in a candy store getting to interview Chris, and seemed very excited. It was a very mild, non-controversial interview, and Barnes seemed pretty happy to be there. So again, I know, like I said in the other video, I know he's kind of a divisive figure, but you know, I enjoyed seeing him, and he didn't seem like a douchebag or anything like that. So that's honestly that's all you can ask from somebody who's a rock star or a celebrity or whatever the case might be, is that they're not a total ass when you interact with them, see them, watch them perform, or run into them in out in the open, out in the wild. But yeah, so that's that. As always, folks, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin up on impact. Don't forget to breathe. Everybody have a good one. Take it easy. I'll catch you on the next video. And yeah, later.